years ago, a declaration in Hanoi lit the path to independence. Now the echoes return, in the thunder of jets and the march of troops. Soviet tanks roll beside Vietnam's own drones, past crowds that camped overnight. Red flags wave above French-era facades, where history and modern power collide. This is not just an anniversary, it is Vietnam's message to the world. In Hanoi, Vietnam has marked the 80th anniversary of its independence with the largest military parade in decades. More than 16,000 troops marched through Ba Dinh Square, joined by Soviet-era tanks, helicopters, Sukhoi fighter jets, and newly produced drones. The event was closely choreographed, drawing tens of thousands of residents who camped overnight for a view. Alongside the spectacle, Vietnam showcased a new generation of domestically produced weapons. Viettel, the military's telecoms and defense arm, presented self-propelled howitzers, radar systems, and coastal defense launchers. Engineers at the company described these designs as a milestone for local industry. Reforms now allow private companies to contribute to weapons production, signaling Hanoi's ambition to reduce its reliance on Russian arms. Defense analysts caution that transition will be slow. Greg Poling of the Center for Strategic and International Studies noted that every aspect of Vietnam's arsenal was built to Russian specifications, making integration with Western equipment especially difficult. Deliveries from Moscow have declined sharply since the invasion of Ukraine, leaving Hanoi with aircraft that are losing airworthiness certifications and fleets that are increasingly hard to maintain.
If anyone expected that to happen quickly, they underestimated the hurdles. From sensors to screws, everything in the Vietnamese military was built to Russian specification. They can't just plug Western equipment into those systems. They have to build a whole separate military ecosystem.
Communist Party Chief Ta Lam used the occasion to reaffirm Vietnam's determination to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. The parade was attended by senior figures from China and Russia, as well as Western diplomats.
We are unwavering in our commitment to defend the independence, freedom, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of our fatherland, down to every sacred inch of land.
For many in the crowd, the day carried deep personal meaning. Hanoi resident Hoang Thi Huyen, who camped with her family for nearly 2 days to secure a spot, said the long wait was worth it to watch the troops and fighter jets pass by.
I'm so glad, satisfied, and deeply moved to finally witness the marching troops pass by. It was worth the wait. The troops and the fighter jets were amazing.
Vietnam has marked the 80th anniversary of its declaration of independence with parades and celebrations, while the legacy of French colonialism remains present in subtle and sometimes overlooked ways. In Hanoi, reminders of the colonial past endure in architecture, food, and language. Baguettes transformed into banh mi sandwiches, cafes serving croissants, and yellow-painted mansions in the French Quarter coexist with red flags celebrating 8 decades of self-rule. Yet for many younger Vietnamese, the origins of these influences are distant or unfamiliar. At Hoa Lo Prison, once notorious under French rule and now a memorial, 24-year-old Huynh Nhuong reflected that France left both cultural markers and painful memories. As troops prepared to march, she said her focus was less on colonial history than on Vietnam's 8 decades of independence and its ability to shape its own future.
There are both good and bad sides. France left a lot of pain for the country. Vietnam doesn't need to cling to another country or rely on another power to lead the nation.
French language study, once dominant, has narrowed but retains a foothold. Around 63,000 Vietnamese are enrolled in French classes, though far fewer students select it as a subject compared with English or Chinese. At Doan Thi Diem School in Hanoi, teacher Lu Than Hang described French as a language of culture and diplomacy, valuable for encouraging creativity and critical thinking. Still, awareness of colonial heritage can be limited. Standing outside Hanoi's foreign ministry, a landmark of French Indochina design, 30-year-old Nguyen Thi Trang admitted she was drawn mainly by the building's striking architecture and its popularity online, surprised to learn of its origins. Today, Vietnam balances historical ties with new partners, highlighting a past that lingers even as the country looks firmly ahead. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh has concluded a visit to Tianjin, where he met Russian President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit. The meeting reaffirmed Vietnam's long-standing partnership with Russia, with both sides pledging to expand cooperation in trade, investment, culture, and tourism. Putin endorsed proposals advanced by the Vietnamese leader and promised to encourage Russian agencies and enterprises to strengthen collaboration. The trip also underscored Vietnam's multilateral engagement. Addressing the SCO summit as an invited guest, Chin emphasized adherence to the United Nations Charter and international law, while outlining 3 proposals: advancing multilateralism to address security challenges, mobilizing resources for development and governance, and consolidating mutual trust to deepen regional and global connectivity. In Tianjin, the Vietnamese delegation held talks with leaders from Asia and Europe, highlighting opportunities in infrastructure, agriculture, energy, nuclear power, digital transformation, and green transition. These discussions built on Vietnam's development priorities and broadened ties across regions. Meetings with Chinese leaders further reinforced Hanoi's bamboo diplomacy. Both sides agreed to strengthen economic connectivity, including rail and energy linkages, and expand trade in agricultural products. They also reached consensus on maritime issues, affirming respect for international law and cooperation within ASEAN on a code of conduct in the South China Sea. Cultural and people-to-people exchanges were also advanced, with plans for joint celebrations marking 75 years of diplomatic ties. The visit highlighted Vietnam's effort to balance its strategic partnerships while pursuing practical cooperation across multiple fronts.